Slay, the Giants, as you said, like you really, it weighs on you losing and you're looking to win. The Giants just chased and heavily pursued Matthew Stafford before missing out. He stays in LA. Would landing a quarterback like that have caused you to view what the Giants could be differently? Or do you look at this as it's played out its course and it's time for a change?
Yeah, I think it definitely would have. I mean, Matthew Stafford is, if you're a receiver, if you just look at his track record of what he's done for receiving careers, it's pretty, it's like if you got a chance to get with that guy, you'd probably take it because
Yep.
you're probably going to be set up to have a career year. But pretty sure every receiving record he has or he threw.
Yeah, he's the quarterback for it.
Yeah, he's the quarterback for
Cup
it.
in Megatron.
Exactly. So,
All right.
which is yards, touchdowns, and catches. So, obviously a guy like that is you don't take that lightly. But obviously they missed that opportunity. But regardless, I think if specifically for the Giants, I think whatever direction they choose to go in, they have to full sail into that guy. And by that, I mean, like the way that they structure things, the way that they call the offense, the way that they whoever it is has to be, poured into, like the Ravens poured into Lamar, or like the Chiefs have poured into Mahomes, the Bills have poured into Josh Allen. If you look at the way that Lamar's a really easy example because of his unique style of football, but if you look at the way that the Ravens have played football since Lamar Jackson got there, it has been tailored to his skill set. If you would have asked Lamar Jackson to come to the league and play like Peyton Manning, we would not know him to be who he is today.
100%.
And that is the reality of any young quarterback you see succeed. A lot of people say now, one of the things I despise seeing right now is the Jaden Daniels commentary, because everybody's like, well, you got to get your Jaden Daniels. You got to, bro. A year ago, nobody said that. Nobody was like, Jaden Daniels is a franchise-changing quarterback a year ago. And now everybody's like, you need a Jaden Daniels that can come in and change your year 1 year. No, you just – there's a reason why he wasn't – if that was the case, he would have been the first overall pick. And Jaden Daniels is obviously an exceptional player. But what I'm saying is he went to the Commanders, who have Cliff Kingsbury, who has a history of quarterbacks, specifically college quarterbacks, and success, helping them be successful. The way the throws he asked them to make, the reads he asked them to make, the way the offenses ran. And so I think that, for the Giants, it'll be the same. If whoever they get, if they do a good job of fitting, Dayball and Cavs' personalities and play styles and play calling ways to whatever kid they get, I think, their ceiling could be just as high as anybody. And, obviously for the Giants specifically, it would have to be, in order, for me to be there, it would have to be that. I would have to know that, like, y'all are going to bring this rookie in, or it could even be a Sam Darnold. It could be a vet, whoever it is. Like
Aaron Rodgers?
Maybe not that much of a vet, but a vet. Aaron Rodgers at this point, he's stuck in his way. Aaron Rodgers is what he is. Like not really much molding Aaron Rodgers at this point. Like, he's obviously an all-time great quarterback, great guy to play with, but like I was referring to being able to mold a guy. Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers. You ain't molding him, But
if they do get a guy like Aaron Rodgers, how does that intrigue you in terms of thinking about staying in New York? Obviously, he's a gunslinger. He's got his style. He throws an incredible deep ball. I mean, you guys could do real damage. How do you think about that?
I think on paper it sounds like a great idea. I have often said that Aaron Rodgers is the greatest person to ever throw the football, in my opinion. I think there's never been a better thrower of the ball until, obviously, probably Mr. Mahomes will pass him. But strictly throwing the ball, I don't think the game of football saw a better thrower pre-Aaron Rodgers, pre-Mahomes than Aaron Rodgers.
I still think you're right there, though. I still think you're right. Thrower of the football, not player.
Not
thrower
player.
Of the ball. It's still Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I don't think there's ever been a greater thrower. And obviously, again, you don't take that lightly because as a receiver, that's very helpful.
Yeah.
And, but I think that obviously you watch what transpired with the Jets and it makes sense because at his stage in his career, he knows that he can get himself to be great or whatever with whatever amount of time he needs. But the reality of the Giants is they have Malik going into his second year. If I were to be back there, Wandale is he's going to his fourth year, but Jalen, like I said, young guys, and it's like they would need time. They would need OTAs. They would need camp reps. They would need to get on the same page with him. And I think that if the Giants were to do that, I think there would have to be an understanding that he has to be willing to help bring these young guys along, and he can't come in there and expect them to be like Devontae and be a proven product and be a finished product and be ready to go. And so I think if that was a route for them to take, it would just have to be with that understanding, I think, in order for it to be successful.
Question about just your overall thoughts and impressions. I was super impressed with Malik Neighbors as a rookie. He's got elite ball skills. He's a crazy athlete from what I saw. And he's one of those players and receivers that he runs through the ball. When we were talking about deep digs and slants, he runs through it. Love your thoughts and impressions in terms of him as a rookie and just his overall skill set.
Yeah, what do they say, as advertised? I think Malik is definitely as advertised. I think he's like everything you just said is true, and he showed that throughout camp, where I think the only thing I was grateful to be able to spend his rookie year with him, to be honest, because I learned a lot from him, as I've learned from every Wandale and Jalen, every rookie we've brought in. I've learned things from Malik as well. And I think he has a natural confidence that rolls over into the way he plays. And it shows in everything he does on the field. And, I think he's a really talented kid. I think he'll have a good career. But, at the same time, everybody has their areas where they need to be, kept, wherever, straight or in line or whatever. But, I think everything you just said is true. He's legit.
Yeah, word was Slay was an extremely important resource to Malik, learning Daboll's offense, the ins and outs, how to react to different coverages, and that Slay's presence in the huddle, like specifically, was invaluable to kind of unlocking those talents depending on what defenses were throwing at you guys. Another reason why that's you provide value, whether it's to the Giants or to somebody else.
Yep.
Slay, you mentioned last spring after Saquon joined the Eagles in an interview with Keyshawn Johnson, you said, there's maybe something with a signing like that as far as staying in division because you have something to prove to the people who are either doubting you or letting you go. Do you have any kind of chip on your shoulder similar to that? Obviously, Saquon, to say he delivered with that chip would be an understatement. But do you have that similar chip on your shoulder as far as like if New York does move on and if you move on, that you wouldn't mind playing them twice a year, or is it not like that?
Yeah, I wouldn't look to. If I were to end up in that situation, it would be purely happenstance. I wouldn't look to be in the division. Xavier McKinney's not in the division, but he's an all-pro. So there's kind of that doesn't go by as like, obviously Saquon's right in your face, but it's like, you just watch the kid go all-pro, that was here, and in the preceding year of him being here. So, and Evan Ingram is another one. Went to Jacksonville. He has the all-time receptions record for tight ends in a single season now. Like 140 something reception a year he had a year ago. So, seeing the Giants twice a year, like, is not something that is I guess a vendetta to me or whatever. But, the goal is to just be successful wherever I'm there or wherever I'm at next. And obviously, people would draw the correlation just like they've drawn it with Saquon and Xavier and Evan and, whoever else, has been in that scenario. But, like I said, my primary goal is just go somewhere and succeed.
Last question for me, man. What does success look like for the rest of your career? How many years do you want to play? What does success look like for the rest of your career?
Yeah, I think when I came in, I had a goal of getting to 30 and being able to decide, because that's pretty hard to do. Mm-hmm. And I also wanted to play 10 years, which by the time I'm age 30, I won't be at year 10, but I think I'll be a year away from year 10. So I think being able to decide when your career ends is one of the hardest things to do in the NFL. Most of the time, guys get taken out by either being aged out or injuries take you out, or what have you. And I think I want to just be able to decide, but I also want to have, more film speaks for itself. But the reality is like, if you don't have the on paper numbers and accolades, your career kind of sounds lackluster or sounds a certain way. So, I'd like to accumulate some on paper stuff, whether that be eclipsing 1,000 yards, having 10 touchdowns in a season, hopefully a Pro Bowl or all pro bid. Although all pro there's a receiver now is laughably hard. It's just, at this point, it's like, bro, you look up at the receiving numbers in here, 1,700, 1,500, like you got to go for like 1,400 yards to get all pro.
Minimum.
It's gotten pretty ridiculous. So, and the reality of receiver is if you don't get the 160 targets to keep up with the guys that have those numbers, you ain't getting there. So,
Right.
But I just want to, and win. Beans, you went to Super Bowl, you won one. I would like to at least just get close. Let's get to at least a championship of the NFC or AFC.
It would change your life forever, and then you will think about stats very differently because if you never eclipsed 1,000 yards or got an All-Pro or whatever, if you win a Super Bowl, you can get into any room in that city and do whatever you want.
Yeah, so I think that's.
I heard Slay mention Mahomes' name earlier, Benny. I don't know about you.
Hey, I'd love to see him in Kansas City.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. That would be an interesting spot for sure.
Yeah. Slay, just an all-encompassing free agent question to close us out here. You changed agents. I wanted to know, coming out of the NFL Combine, because we're speaking just after everybody gets back from Indianapolis, where the agents and the teams meet, and you really start to get a firm handle on what the market looks like, what teams are interested. How different has the process been for you this year with different representation and maybe how you guys have gone about it? And what do you get a sense about what your market is right now, with like the information you have after that week?
Yeah, so we know we have a lot of interest out there. This receiver free agency class is very unique. And fortunately for me, I'm in a niche spot of my ability combined with where I'm at in my career that makes me fairly valuable at this point in comparison to some of the other guys. And we know that, and teams have expressed that sentiment, they to my agent or whatever. And so we know that we have a lot of interest out there. We know that, whenever free agency opens up, we know we'll have, a lot of conversations to have with a lot of different people, but it just kind of panned out that way because the guys that are in there, if T Higgins was a true free agent, obviously T would be the number one guy, whatever out there. But nobody knows if he gets tagged, if he gets traded, if he just gets extended, so he's not really affecting the market right now. But if you kind of get off of him, you have Amari Cooper out there, you have Hop out there, you have Diggs out there, as far as some of the big name guys that are at the top. But again, they're all in a different phase of their career than I am, because I am well within my prime, been productive.
None of those guys can run as fast as you either.
Exactly, at their stage, at least at this stage in their careers.
No, they never could.
Yeah.
No, not to them.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So, that's why I say, like, I happen to fall in a very niche category and also a high need. There's a lot of teams that, I think as football goes on and on and on, people, a lot of people say that the NFL is an offensive league and that how can they play defense anymore? But if you actually look at NFL scores and NFL games, you don't see 40 to 45 shootouts every week. You see 10 to 17, 17-21, 14 to 10. Like, that's the actual, as much as people cry about defense, it's clearly not that easy to score. Yeah. Because the Chiefs were like 9-1 and didn't score 20 points.
Yeah.
That there's 10 weeks.
Yeah.
So something's hard about getting in there. But I think when you look at that, my ability to stretch the field becomes more valuable because that leads to shorter drives, one play touchdowns. Yeah. You need chunk plays to score in this league. Yeah. The days of well, I won't say they've come and gone, but like the Peyton Manning and Tom Brady style of playing had just become so much more difficult because of the level of athlete that is on the defensive side of the ball now. Being able to pick apart people for 4 quarters is honestly, like, now that I've played for as long as I have, I look at Peyton and I look at Tom and I'm like, bro, I don't know how. I don't know how you brain your way past these guys.
They would dominate today's league.
I know, but it's like you don't see anybody playing like that.
It's almost
I think that goes down to coaching and other things like that, but that's a conversation for another day. But it's the way that the offenses are set up in terms of the players and how you set everything up, the no huddle. That's a different conversation, but I feel you.
Yeah,
Benny, I was going to say, like, it kind of reminds me of Slay. Remember when like Mahomes takes the league by storm, and then remember everybody just started sitting back in like a cover 2 shell and saying like, fine, we'll let you score on an 18 to 20 play drive. We're just not going to let you throw it over our heads. And it actually kind of didn't slow him down is not the right phrase, but it did take a little bit for him to kind of adjust to like, oh, I can't just do whatever I want anymore against this type of coverage. It feels like, today's quarterbacks, I don't know if it's a lack of patience or it's because they're not used to seeing that, but it's more like the Mannings and the Bradys. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Benny. It's more like the Mannings and the Bradys. It's like, if you give me a 6-yard, circle route to the running back, I will throw that 20 times in a row. Right.
Yeah.
Like
it's ego. I mean, it's an ego thing. It's a coaching thing, but Tom Brady against the Atlanta Falcons in that comeback win in the Super Bowl, he threw the ball to James White 17 times. All right, that's what you guys are going to do. I'm going to throw the ball to the running back 17 times. I'm going to throw it to Rex Burkhead. Tom will just do whatever it takes to win the game. And I think that's where quarterbacks and people like that, or like Mahomes in the Super Bowl, you get in trouble. You get in trouble with things like that. Drew Brees would go 1-2, where's Kamara, and then dump it off. I'm gonna throw a 2-yard pass and he's gonna take it 60 yards. So that's where people get in trouble. Peyton double blitz, or you get blitz 0 or different things like that. Oh, we're just gonna throw a 1-yard screen and Jamarius is gonna take it 75 yards. So I think it's a coaching thing, game plan, but also take the ego out of it. That's where some of these coaches and things. But it's hard to do that when you have Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen and you're like, well, he can do everything.
Yeah. Exactly. So, but the fortunate thing for me is it leans into the simple thinking of, if I can just hit a shot to this guy, we score in 2 or 3 plays, as opposed to teaching my quarterback to take the running back 17 times. It's a lot more, if you want to score, it's a lot more to just say, man, if I get this super fast guy who can win an ISO go ball and launch it to him, that's how we get there, instead of, ding, 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 ding. So I all that to say helps my case, fortunately.
Yeah.
No doubt. And Slay, we're so grateful you came on the show today here on Talkin Ball. Unfortunately, based on all the factors we discussed, I do not expect you to be a Giant next season, and we will miss you here, because great personalities, great leaders, people who are courteous and helpful with the media, of course, but also just a great presence in the locker room, a steady person and player. And, wanted to shout out your stats too, because I feel like nobody ever does that. But like you said, a difference-making player down the field, Mr. Consistent, 4 of your 6 seasons over 724 yards, 21 touchdowns in your career with 3,897 yards, 15 yards per reception. And also, look at this past season. Remember, Malik had a great year, but the best offensive game of the season was when Slay was featured there with DJ in Seattle, 8 catches, 122 yards and a touchdown. But just wanted to give you your flowers there and say thanks again for coming on. And this has been an awesome conversation.
I'm
really
excited for you to
appreciate
leave New York.
Yeah. I can kind of get that vibe, Beans, from the other side of the mic.
Yeah, I'm very excited for you to leave.
It's one of those things like I don't root for a team, Slay, because it's like, you cover it, you have to be objective, but you start to root for certain individuals. Yeah, like Benny was a guy when he ended up in New Orleans, or, just Saquon, like great person. Like he could have gone anywhere. I would have been happy for his success. You will be the same way.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate that. Both of y'all. Hopefully, wherever I am, we can rack up some stats and some accolades and get something going.
Love it. Thanks, man.
But most important, some W's. All right. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Take care, Slay.
Yeah, sure.